Well, the Baltimore Ravens just beat the Pittsburgh Steelers 13-10 to wrap up another NFL Sunday. All that remains of this Week 11 is tomorrow night's Chicago-San Francisco game. I want to talk about a few of these games today. It was an exciting day in the NFL. Looked for a while like it was going to be a crazy day with a lot of big upsets, but turned out it was just a lot of near misses, a lot of near upsets. Still left us with a lot of questions. Some of them we'll get to here in a minute. I want to start with this Baltimore-Pittsburgh game we just saw. Ravens, as I said, squeaking out a 13-10 victory. A bitter outcome if you were like me and you had Baltimore minus 3.5. But I tell you what, if you watched that game, you couldn't have been surprised in the end with the outcome because, hey, Baltimore, they were ahead the whole game. But I remember late in the third quarter, Baltimore was up 3. It turned out that was the final score, 13-10, and they had the ball. Now, most times when you have a team minus 3.5 in the third quarter, if they're already ahead 3 and they have the ball, you're feeling like, well, there's probably a better than 50-50 chance I'm going to win this. But I did not feel like that at the time. It had nothing to do with the Pittsburgh offense because that part of the game worked out just like many people thought it would. The Pittsburgh offense completely ineffective with Byron Leftwich under center, and they're in trouble. If Ben Roethlisberger misses too many games, they're going to have to squeak out a couple of wins to keep their head above water in the AFC playoff race. Fortunately for them, there's plenty of wiggle room in the AFC playoff race. The AFC is not looking very good right now. But Pittsburgh's defense, number 1 in the NFL in total defense coming into the game, and I was thinking, or I was hoping, I guess, because I was backing Baltimore, that the Ravens would be able to have a little success on offense. A little more success than they had, because they had no success. Pittsburgh locked them down all night. The only touchdown of the night was Jacoby Jones' punt return. The Ravens never sniffed a touchdown for the rest of the night. I think they could have played 10 quarters and not scored an offensive touchdown. So like I said, in the third quarter, even though they had the ball up 3, I said, you know what? This doesn't feel very good. I started thinking we might need some sort of turnover here from the Pittsburgh offense, might need some help. And sure enough, Baltimore did not score the rest of the game, ended up winning the game 13-10, as we said. Now, betting aside, game has major playoff ramifications in the AFC. We mentioned Baltimore. I mean, they haven't locked up the AFC North now, but they are firmly in control. And Pittsburgh, we saw what they looked like on offense without Ben Roethlisberger. Don't look now, but Cincinnati's won a couple of games in a row. They're 5-5. You never know. You never know the way it might shake out here over the next few weeks. And that's not only true in the AFC and the AFC North, all over football. The main question after today's NFL action, tell me this. Who's the best team in the NFL? Who is it? I mean, I'm at a loss right now. The two teams with the best record, Atlanta and Houston, after what we saw today, you're ready to say either one of those two teams is the best in the NFL? Atlanta hosted an Arizona Cardinals team that had lost 5 straight games, and they were behind that whole game. Arizona really blew it. I mean, Atlanta ended up squeaking out a 23-19 win. Arizona had every opportunity to win the game. A puzzling performance from Atlanta, and it's the third time recently at home. They've played badly. They really should have lost to losing teams. Remember against Oakland a couple of weeks ago, against Carolina a week or two before that. So I don't think you could say with any conviction that, oh yeah, Atlanta's the best team. I mean, they're almost losing to bad teams at home, and we know that they haven't been any good in the playoffs under Mike Smith and Matt Ryan. So how do you have any faith in Atlanta at this point? I don't think you can call them the best team in the league. The other team, the Houston Texans, they played who we thought was the worst team in the league, the Jacksonville Jaguars. And it took them to overtime to win that game. They should have lost. The Jaguars up 34-20 in the fourth quarter of that ball game. That was another loss. I lost 2 out of my 3 bets today. The only win coming San Diego sneaking out a backdoor cover against Denver. I had Houston minus 15 against Jacksonville. And I'll tell you what, you might think this is humorous, but I think it's fact. It was a bad break. It was a bad break for myself and all other Houston bettors in that game when Jaguars quarterback Blaine Gabbert went down early in the first quarter. And I said at the time, we were doing our live stream here from the studio as we do every Sunday at 1 o'clock. I said at the time, halfway jokingly, because Houston was up 7-0 at the time. The Texans got the ball the first drive of the game and just flew right down the field, scored a quick 7 points. Blaine Gabbert then got injured. Again, I said half jokingly, I said, I'm not sure if this is a good thing or a bad thing for my Houston Texans bet. Turns out it was a very bad thing. Chad Henne, Jaguars backup quarterback, came in and delivered the type of performance that Blaine Gabbert has not had in his 20-some-odd starts in the NFL. Henne throwing for 350-some-odd yards, 4 touchdowns. Keep in mind, the Jaguars were last in the league in total yards, passing yards, points scored. The first game they played against the Houston Texans this season, the Jaguars barely mustered 150 total yards of offense, only scored 7 points. So Houston was third in the NFL in points allowed coming into the game today. A completely unexpected result. As I said on the live stream, if you would have told me that I would have lost that bet, I had Houston minus 15, I wouldn't have been shocked. 15 points, a huge number to lay in the NFL, obviously. There's a number of different ways you can lose, a team can blow a 15-point cover. So I wouldn't have been stunned at the beginning of the day if you'd have told me I would have lost that bet. If you'd have told me the Jacksonville Jaguars would have scored 37 points in that game, I would have been absolutely floored. So I was floored by the result. And are you prepared to say Houston is the best team in the NFL? I got news for you, because I watched a whole lot of that game. They didn't look like the best team in the NFL today. Carved up by the worst offense in the NFL, a backup quarterback, Chad Henne. And this really makes Blaine Gabbert look bad in Jacksonville, because all that was different today was Chad Henne came in, and all of a sudden, first-round draft pick Justin Blackmon, everybody been wondering, where's Justin Blackmon this year? He comes alive, over 200 yards receiving. I mean, Chad Henne was surrounded by backups, backup running back. It doesn't look good for Gabbert in Jacksonville, and I know the current regime there, Gene Smith, the general manager, who might be on his way out, I know he sort of hitched his wagon to Blaine Gabbert, but it's going to be hard to look the ticket-buying fans in Jacksonville in the eye, all 7 of them, sorry, I had to do it, but it's going to be hard to look at ticket-buying fans in the eye if you're going to start Gabbert in the next game and expect them to honestly believe that you're trying to win, because there's no question, after watching today's game, Chad Henne should be the starting quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But again, Atlanta and Houston, the 2 teams with the best record in the league, really struggling today. Are they the best team? Who is the best team? It wasn't the Baltimore Ravens, not that team I just saw. I know they only have 2 losses, but no. Fool me once, Joe Flacco. Fool me twice. You know the way that saying goes. You know what? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Something like that. Obviously, I don't know the way the saying goes, but I'm not going to be fooled anytime soon by this Ravens offense. All season I've been saying, well, the Baltimore offense showing signs. Are they elite? Is Joe Flacco elite? As I mentioned, Baltimore was 4th in the NFL in points scored coming into this game, but no. Now, Baltimore, they've shown they can score against bad defenses. Did it last year. Flacco fooled a lot of people last year in that AFC Championship game, playing so well on such a big stage. Well, you remember New England, I believe they were 31st in the NFL in total defense last year, so this Ravens team can do it against bad defenses, but I know what I just saw. My eyes don't fool me, and I know the Pittsburgh Steelers make a lot of quarterbacks look bad, but not that bad. No. Joe Flacco did not look like an elite quarterback tonight. I mean, let's face it, he's not an elite quarterback. Now, has he improved? Is he the liability that he was a couple of years ago? No, I don't think so. Yes, I think he's probably improved, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure Joe Flacco can lead him to a Super Bowl. I think his best chance, maybe his only chance, is if he runs into a team like New England with a soft defense. I know New England has a great offense, and Baltimore doesn't have the type of defense this year that they did last year, so maybe the Ravens just don't have a chance. I don't think they're the best team in the league. The 2 teams playing tonight, Chicago and San Francisco. San Francisco has lost twice and tied the St. Louis Rams last week. Chicago, a couple losses. They just lost to Houston. Both of those teams have injury problems at quarterback. Are they the best teams in the league? The New England Patriots racked up 59 points today in a win over the Indianapolis Colts, won that game 59-24. They have a vulnerable defense, and their second-best player on offense, tight end Rob Gronkowski, broke his forearm at the end of this game today. Big news for the New England Patriots in a somewhat meaningless play. Their final extra point, they were just pouring it on their final extra point. Rob Gronkowski broke his forearm. They say it's a 4 to 6 week injury. I know the Patriots have a lot of weapons. We'll see if Aaron Hernandez can come back from injury. He's expected back here over the next couple of weeks. But Gronkowski has emerged as Tom Brady's favorite target, most dependable target. This is going to hurt that offense that was number 1 in the NFL in total yards and points scored coming into this game, and pouring 59 on the Indianapolis Colts today. Obviously, they're not going anywhere as far as those 2 stats. They're going to stay at the top of the league for a while, I would think, in those 2 areas. So those are the suspects, or the choices there, your candidates, I guess, more candidates than suspects. Atlanta, Houston, Chicago, San Francisco, New England, Baltimore. I mean, am I getting warm here? Are any one of these teams the best team in the league? Let me nominate somebody else. What about the Denver Broncos? And I'll be the first to admit, I was not high on this team at the beginning of the season, at least not as high as everybody else. I thought Denver was going to be an 8-8, 9-7 type team. Was not at all surprised to see their 2-3 start. That was pretty much just the type of season I forecasted for this team. And they fell behind by 20 points or more in 4 out of their first 6 games. So some troubling signs there at the beginning of the season. And I made money betting against Denver a couple of times at the beginning of the season. But I'll tell you what, they've converted me now. 5 straight wins. And hey, I won betting against Denver again today. Back San Diego plus 8.5. Just felt like it was too many points in that situation. It got lucky. I mean, San Diego slid in there with a backdoor cover. Of course, it was paid back here just a few minutes ago when I lost by a half point there in that Baltimore-Pittsburgh game. It giveth, it taketh away. You know the way it is. But anyway, Denver, I mean, they did only beat San Diego by 7 today. Don't let the final score fool you. They had that game under control. The Denver defense, wow, played a great game today. Chargers, I believe, their first 11 possessions, 10 punts and an interception. Phillip Rivers looked awful. But the Broncos are now 7-3. I mean, the AFC West is done. It is theirs. Nobody else has a shot. So they're in great position. They have an easy schedule for the rest of the way. They have an excellent chance to lock up home field advantage in the AFC. I know they're a game behind Baltimore right now and tied with New England as far as that goes. And Houston, of course. 2 games behind Houston. But Denver, boy, it'd be tough to bet against Denver right now. All things being equal, it'd be tough to bet against Denver no matter who they were playing. So are they the best team in the NFL? Tough to say that with 3 losses, but coming out of today, there's more uncertainty than ever in terms of the very top, the elite of the elite in the NFL. We think we can name the 6 or 7 teams, right, that have a chance. And I didn't even mention the New York Giants, last year's Super Bowl champion, because they obviously have 4 losses now, but the Giants, they were in a similar position to this time last year, and they went on that great run, ended up winning the Super Bowl. So maybe we'll see a team like that. Maybe we'll see a team like the Green Bay Packers, who are just overlooking now. But Green Bay, they were unimpressive today, squeaking by the Detroit Lions. That offense, again, proving that they're not the same offense they were last year and the year before. Their defense is playing better in Green Bay, no doubt about it. A team I want to talk about quickly that has officially risen. Not is rising, has risen, and that is the New Orleans Saints. Risen from the ashes after that 0-4 start. Saints have now won 5 out of the last 6. They've covered the number in all 5 of those games after blowing out the Oakland Raiders today. Saints are now 5-5. And even though I'm a big believer in the New Orleans Saints offense, I like betting on the Saints. They're a fun team to bet on because when you watch them, that offense looks so unstoppable at times that you always tend to feel good about it, even though they have a bad defense. But still, I haven't, even the last couple of weeks, the Saints have strung together a couple of wins. I've said too little too late for this New Orleans Saints team, and I still think it's probably too little too late, not because of where they are record-wise, because they're 5-5, just a game out of that wild card, the last wild card in the NFC right now. But you look at the Saints' schedule. Let me read to you their next 5 games. San Francisco, at Atlanta, at the New York Giants, Tampa Bay at home. The Bucs are playing great football. They won again today to go to 6-4. At Dallas. Now, I know Dallas, not a great team, but at Dallas, certainly no cakewalk. They finished the season with a relatively easy game against Carolina Panthers, but the Saints have a really tough road ahead. But I'll tell you what, they're back to 5-5 now. I'm not ready to bet against them. We've seen this New Orleans Saints team make runs very similar to this in years past. We've seen them go on great against the spread runs, and I mentioned 5-1 against the spread in their last 6 games, also 5-1 overall in their last 6 games. So look out for the New Orleans Saints. That defense was better today. The defense has been atrocious this year, but they were able to put some pressure on Carson Palmer today, which obviously helped out that secondary as it always does anytime you put pressure on the quarterback. But Saints at 5-5. So are they a team? I mean, as far-fetched as it sounds, they lost the first 4 games, but look at the New York Giants last year. We don't know who's the best team now. Would you be willing to bet against the New Orleans Saints on a neutral field against just about anybody? I mean, what would the spread be? I'll put it to you. What would the spread be, a neutral field, if New Orleans played Houston right now? Houston -3? Houston -3.5? I'm telling you right now, it wouldn't be much more than that. So the Saints, even though they're 5-5, are a team to be reckoned with right now. Just a whole jumbled mess in the NFL. Now, one thing I want to mention quickly about me personally, and we'll talk about this more as the week goes along on the site, but I've been doing a couple of different things here over the last couple of weeks. I give you my traditional picks every week, pick the games as far as the spreads go, pick my favorite 3 or 4 games every week using the spreads, the handicaps, the lines, or whatever. And I'm very mediocre on the season, 500, dead 500 on the season on those picks, was 1-2 today. But I started something three weeks ago, calling it the Great Moneyline Experiment or something. You know, started as a genuine effort to try to see if there's a better way to do things. And what I've done is I've made a $100 money line bet on every single NFL game, save the Thursday night games, just for convenience purposes, because for me to legally bet, I have to write a casino ship, and I usually take that ride on Friday night. So can't do it on Thursday night games, but I've been betting $100 money line on every game for the past, this was the third week in a row. We've kept track of the results here on the site, and at first, it went from just being sort of a laugh. Now, I'm risking real money on it, so it's not that much of a laugh, but not big money, $100 on every game. And you figure you're obviously not going to lose every game talking about money line, so you figure to break somewhere close to even. So I wasn't really concerned about the finances of it. And just, you know, it was something interesting, I figured. Is it something else interesting we could follow on the site? Well, after 3 weeks, this is beyond interesting for me now. I need to take a long, hard look at this because I mentioned dead 500 on my picks, my actual bets. So, fortunately for college football, thank God for college football. If it weren't for college football, I wouldn't be turning a profit this year. But thanks to some good luck betting college football, I am. But this money line thing, I mean, this might be something because even though I was 1-2 on my 3 bets today, 11-1 on my money line bets. Now, last week I was 11-1-1 on my money line bets. Week 1 I was 9-4. So week 1, 9-4, made $276. Again, risking $100 money line on every game. So if I have to bet $100 on a team to only win 20 on a heavy favorite, I do it. Only game I lost today, coincidentally, only game I lost on the money line was the only game I won with the picks. I picked the Chargers to beat the Denver Broncos. Again, sometimes these money line things, if a game I think could go either way, I'll try the underdog because it pays better. Picked the Chargers to beat the Denver Broncos, lost that one obviously, and that was the only game I actually won in terms of my picks because I had San Diego plus 8.5. They lost by 7. So 11-1 on the money lines today. I haven't totaled up just how much profit I made because I just haven't done the math yet with all the tickets. I'm going to. I won't cash tickets until my next boat trip on Friday. But made $724 last week, $276 in week 1. I think this is going to be another $500, $600, or $700 effort. So maybe I'm a fool for continuing to chuck my money away on these things that I'm hitting as many as I'm missing. You know, 500. I mean, you know, you could blindfold a monkey or flip coins, they say, and end up averaging out 500. So might have to want to take a look at this because 31-6-1 on the money lines here these last 3 weeks. Anyway, just wanted to throw that in because I just noticed that. I was going through my bets. I was disappointed that the Ravens didn't come through for me, and I said, you know, a losing day. And then I remember all those money line tickets, and I was like, well, you know, I won most of those games and went back and looked, and indeed, 11 of 12 have San Francisco on the money line tomorrow night. Speaking of tomorrow night's game, should be a good one. Now, Chicago is going to be going with Jason Campbell. Both these quarterbacks, Jay Cutler and Alex Smith, the starting quarterbacks, of course, for Chicago and San Francisco, respectively, they were taken out of last week's games with concussions. Now, apparently Cutler's was more severe because he's already been ruled out of tomorrow night's game. Alex Smith is questionable. He's been practicing this week, but apparently has not yet been cleared by doctors. We'll see. To me, I mean, you want to keep an eye on that. I definitely lean towards the Niners in this game if Smith plays, but if they have to start Colin Kaepernick against that Chicago defense, San Francisco right now installed as a 7-point favorite on BETDAQ. And if Colin Kaepernick goes as the starter and this line is still 7, and obviously BETDAQ's going to leave this market up there, boy, I like the Chicago Bears in 7 points. Again, if they're up against Colin Kaepernick, because this defense has forced so many turnovers this year, and Kaepernick is so green and inexperienced, you would think that is a bad combination for the San Francisco 49ers. Well, we're going to have a full preview of that game. Sorry, I stuttered there for a second. I was like, for the San Francisco? Yeah, that's right, San Francisco. Anyway, it's late. Hey, it's late. You know, 1 in the morning right now, whatever it is. But going to get to bed here in a second. We'll be putting a full preview for the Monday night game up on the site here in a matter of hours. And remember to check back throughout the week for video previews of every one of these games. News, picks, anything else I might find interesting or relevant, stick up there on the site. If you have any feedback on the site, we'd love to hear it. John@BETDAQNFL.com is how you can reach me via email. Twitter @BETDAQNFL. I am the man behind the Twitter account. I will get right back to you. Well, until next time, that means until a few hours from now when I'll be seeing you in the preview for the Monday night Chicago-San Francisco game. Oh, by the way, before we get out of here, I do want to mention, and I'll mention it again on the preview we're going to do for the game, BETDAQ going through big site renovations, big site improvements. So there will not be a live market for the Chicago-San Francisco game on the Monday night game. I guess it'll be Tuesday morning over there. Obviously, this is just a one-time thing. You have to shut it down one time, and the middle of the night is the time they elected to shut it down. Obviously, there's some sport going on at some point around the world, all the time. So it will be tomorrow night, Chicago-San Francisco game that's affected. So remember to get your bets in on that game before it starts, because there won't be any in-running action on that game on BETDAQ. Anyway, wanted to throw that in there. We'll be seeing you soon for BETDAQ NFL. I'm John Arnette.